So today I wanted to recommend a few books based off of astrological signs. Now, I'm in no way an expert, like whatsoever. I just have been really into astrology and just read a lot about it. And I was on my Instagram. So I started just sharing like a few recommendations for a few signs, and I was actually getting positive responses where people were saying like, oh, that's actually really accurate, and everyone wanted me to do like the whole all this astrological signs. So I was like, okay, I'll do this, and I wanted to make a video of it so I can talk about it a little bit more in depth. And it's really fun, and I think that astrology is very interesting, and it's really like, I think everyone who's into it knows like it's really fun, especially when you're like, oh my god, that is spot on, that is so me. It's just nice to feel seen, especially when it's like, it feels really random. So it's, yeah. So like, since there's 12 signs, I wanted to just do a few today because then the video is going to be too long. And I hope that you enjoy my recommendations, and I hope they're actually going to be accurate because I really tried with this. So let's see. Okay, so let's start with Aries. Now, Aries are passionate, determined leaders that I was trying to think of like characters in books that have those qualities, and the one that came up to me like instantly was The Hunger Games, Katniss, right? I know that most people have probably heard of it or read it or watched the movie, and probably if you haven't read it or watched it, but you've heard enough about it, you're like, what's the point now, right? You know enough about it. But I honestly think this is one of my favorite series. Like, I don't read a lot when it comes to YA books or series in general. But this one, oh my god, this one got me really good because I remember the first time, so this was one of the cases where, so I watched the movie first because one of my friends was like, do you want to watch this movie, The Hunger Games? I had no idea what it was about. I just went and watched it, and I was like, mind blown, this is so good. Immediately that night, ordered all the books, needed to read them immediately, and I went through them so fast. It was crazy. I lived, breathed this series for that week because I was just like, I couldn't put it down. So good. The Katniss is an incredible character. Like, you're just in awe of how like driven and passionate and just like about, she just cares so much, and she was just like amazing as to follow, and the whole story, I mean, amazing. So Hunger Games, Aries, check it out if you really want to read, especially if you want to read a book, like, a story you just want to get completely immersed in and just lose yourself for a while. The Hunger Games, it'll do that to you. So the other one I wanted to talk about for Aries is, this is another popular one, The Secret History. So this was another one where everyone constantly talked about The Secret History, and I was always completely lost. Like, what is this book going to offer me? Like, okay, everybody needs to calm down. It's not going to be that great. Of course I was wrong. This book was incredible. Oh my god. I felt like mesmerized, enchanted the entire time when I was reading it. Tartt's words, just, writing like this, it's just I'm like obviously blabbering now. It makes me really, really happy when I'm able to read stories like this and writing like this. And so the reason I was thinking Aries would love this is because the main, most of the characters are very driven, perfectionists, and I feel like Aries, you're gonna be you'll understand that. And overall, I mean, the story is good. Like, you're gonna love The Secret History. It's very good. The story's so intense, and it just like it's like a story I've never read, so that's why it's always hard for me to explain the plot. Like, when you tell somebody it, like, it just sounds ridiculous because it's like this, but you know, you just keep adding on to it because you're like, well, you know, I mean, you know, it's like that's how I talk about The Secret History. So I'm always like, just read it. I promise, trust me, you're gonna love it. There's just no way you're not gonna love it. So, Aries, you guys, The Hunger Games and The Secret History. This one's for you guys. Okay, so next, Taurus, my ambitious, well-grounded, intelligent people. So what books I was trying to think of could I recommend to you? So one of them I was thinking was 1984. I feel like that's one that Tauruses will appreciate because it's such an intelligent book and it makes you think so much, especially when it comes to our current state. And it's crazy because, you know, Orwell wrote this book such a long time ago, but when you read it, you're like, this sounds like what's happening right now. This sounds like what our future is right now. So it's kind of uncool when you're like reading that part and just like, oh, okay, well, you know. So I feel like this, like 1984 is a great book when it comes to just, you know, it's like one of those books you're supposed to read in general, right? It's one of the greats. And I truly believe it is because of the subject and just how relevant it is, especially today. And it's very readable. Like, this was a book I read in like a few hours. Like, I love when, you know, like classic books especially, like, are books that, like, when the author writes it, where it's just so easy to latch onto and you're just like, I'm in here and just, you know, you can like zip through it. But obviously this is one that even if you like read it really fast, it just stays with you because you're just thinking about all these ideas he's presented to you. And, you know, so I feel like Tauruses will appreciate that a lot. So the next book I want to talk about that I feel like Tauruses will really appreciate is Pride and Prejudice. Now, I've been talking about Pride and Prejudice a lot because during this period I've been watching the series and the movie because it just brings like this sense of calmness to me. And it's just like the book especially, it's so beautifully written, and I feel like Tauruses especially will love Elizabeth, right? Because you'll appreciate not only the beauty of her character, but you know, she's a very stubborn, strong person, and Tauruses are known for that. So I feel like, you know, Lizzie is somebody you're gonna like just instantly be connected with. And Pride and Prejudice is another one of those books where I know I'm not like the type of person who's like, read classics because you have to, but there's certain classics, honestly, where I'm like, they're worth it. They're actually still so relevant today, and they're written well enough where, like, you know, it doesn't feel like outdated or anything, and they're just, you know, Pride and Prejudice is one of those where it doesn't feel outdated. All the characters and the storyline, everything just feels like, you know, still completely relevant today. And another thing, I feel like Pride and Prejudice, the good thing, Tauruses, you'll appreciate is that once you finish reading it, you can watch the series and the movie. I love the movie a lot more than the series because it's so beautiful and the aesthetics, oh, so good. So that's, you know, that'll be fun to do. So those two, Pride and Prejudice and 1984 for all Tauruses. Okay, so Geminis. Now, you guys were really hard for me to like pin down because there's just, you guys contain multitudes. And I was like, okay, so what characteristics do I want to focus in on and choose books based off of that, right? So I wanted to pick books that were creative and very communicative because all the Geminis I know are very creative individuals and they're just so outgoing and so kind. So I wanted to choose books that were very, you know, that will capture your attention and the stories are incredibly interesting. So one of them is one that I think everybody knows about, Wicked. And I know that everybody knows this because of the musical adaptation, but the story is so good. It's very thought-provoking, it's very inventive, and it tells the story of the Wicked Witch from the West, from the Wizard of Oz, but from her perspective. It's completely, like, it's revisionist, it's complicated, and it gives the reader the other side of the narrative. And I love that because, you know, I feel like everything is not black and white. There's so much to people, and this book gives you like her side of the story and what like events in her life brought her to this point. And character development, like, that's my favorite thing in the entire world. So for that reason, Wicked, I promise you guys will love it. It's so good. And on top of it, it's, you know, like, if you love the musical adaptation already, you'll love the book. So highly recommend checking out Wicked. Okay, so another book I wanted to recommend for Geminis is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kahling, because this one I feel like Geminis will love because it's extremely creative. It's so funny. Creative as in, like, Mindy is so creative and you just are so inspired by her, and the story is so funny, the way she writes. And you're just like, honestly, this book made me laugh out loud. And, you know, like, that just doesn't happen that often. So I was laughing so much, and I was just like, why are we best friends already, Mindy? Like, this needs to happen, like, now. And after I was, like, reading her story, I was, like, so inspired to do more creative things and be more creative, and just, you know, I was overall, like, it left me feeling so happy afterwards. And I love when books do that, like, when they inspire you and make you so just genuinely, like, you know, like, leaving you so really, like, feeling really good, basically, after you're done reading it. And she did that, and I feel like Geminis will really appreciate that, because not only is it going to make you, like, super, like, really, like, laugh out loud, but it's also going to leave you like, huh, like, all of this stuff I love in my life, but how can I, like, you know, do more? Like, whatever inspires you, like, you know, like, whatever your interests are, like, it inspires you to, like, pursue them even further. And I feel like that's wonderful. Like, it's such a good thing that, you know, most books, like, it's a hard thing to do. So I think her book does that really well. So 2 books for Geminis. Wicked and Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? Okay, so I'm going to end it with Cancers. So my beautiful Cancers, my in your feelings, 24/7, extremely moody Cancers. Now, I can say all this because I am a Cancer, and I think, you know what, this is the reason why we're so special, right? Because we feel so deeply. We're constantly just, I mean, at the drop of a hat, honestly, I can feel for anything. Like, you know, you can tell me a story about whatever, and I'm just like, I'll be attached to it very, very fast. So I think a book, like, I'm only going to recommend one book for Cancers because I really want everyone to read this, if you already haven't, is Conversations with Friends. Now, this book, when I read it, I swear to God, you guys, this book was it. I was like, I have never read a book where I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, my heart is breaking continuously, like, just in a different way. Not, it was like, okay, so I'm gonna, like, actually go into this because I feel like I'm just gonna be stammering when I'm talking about this, because it's one of those books that left me completely, like, speechless. Like, every time I talk about it with somebody, I'm just like at a loss for words. But I'm gonna try my best to be eloquent about this. So basically, so the story revolves around Frances. Now, she is a very emotional person, and she like, okay, this is where she got me, because, like, so even though Frances is a very emotional person, she's someone who hides her emotions from most people. And I was like, me. And, like, the reason is because she feels like, you know, if she does show it, she's going to seem really weak, and she doesn't want to burden other people with how she's feeling. Another thing, I was like, okay, I'm with you, Frances. I get you. I'm there. And so, like, but obviously the issue when, you know, you're just keeping everything bottled up inside is, like, you know, all of this is just constantly like just rising in you, and it's like affecting your emotional state 24/7. And so, you know, she's like, you go there, you're with her and go through this with her. And just like the whole story, like Sally Rooney is an incredible author, and she writes these characters that are not the most likable, but they're very human because, you know, they have flaws like all of us do. I feel like I'm not a very likable person all the time, 24/7, unless, you know, I want to be likable, so I'll pretend to put on a face and, you know, like that's what I'm gonna, if I want to win somebody over that way, you know. But like, you know, most of us have flaws, and just so, but the thing is, the way Rooney writes these like unlikable characters, you get to know them and you just like begin to start to understand them, and you're like, okay, you know what, I get you and I understand why you are the way you are. And I'm like, I see that in me as well, and I think that's the reason why I connected so well with Conversations with Friends, was because a lot of these characters, I was just like, I completely understand where you're coming from. And overall, it's just, you know, I love books that are all about emotions, that are all about like moody people. I'm like, these are my people. This is what I want to read about. So Conversations with Friends is a Cancer read, you guys. You have to pick this book up if you haven't already read it. And then on top of it, so even though like, I wasn't going to talk about this, and I'm not going to talk about it for too long, but Normal People is also by Sally Rooney, and I know the series just came out and everybody's been watching it, and you know, it's also very in your feelings. Like, I haven't been able to watch it because I know I'm just going to be crying throughout that series, and I was like, I don't think I can handle that right now. So, but like, you know, if you enjoyed Normal People, the series, but you haven't read Conversations with Friends, I think that's what you need to do. If you loved Normal People, Conversations with Friends, it is, you know, like, I'm telling you, you are gonna love it. But yeah, like, Cancers, you guys, this is the book. I'm telling you, Conversations with Friends, you gotta check it out. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope these books were like very helpful, because this was really fun for me. I really enjoyed researching these astrological signs and, you know, finding out their different characteristics to see what books would match up with them. And I really hope that if anybody like reads one of these recommendations, like it actually matches and they're like, oh my god, that was spot on. That would make me so happy. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'll post the part 2 next week for the rest of the astrological signs. Alright, bye!